Imagine snow covering everything around you, but danger lurks closer than it seems. In a remote cabin, a family faces a horrifying winter night that could destroy them. And on a road trip, what should have been a simple drive turns into a nightmare when a stranger appears, making every second a fight for survival. By the end of this video, you'll never look at winter the same way again. It was December 22nd, 1990, just 3 days before Christmas. The T-Day family arrived at their mountain cabin near Oakley, Utah, a place they called T-Day's Tranquility. In winter, the cabin was completely cut off. No roads, no cars. The only way in or out was by snowmobile. Inside the cabin that night were 6 people. The parents, Rolf and Kay Tita, their 2 daughters, Linai and Tricia, and Kay's elderly mother, Beth. Outside, snow buried the forest. Temperatures dropped fast, and once night fell, the cabin was completely silent. Sometime late that night, that silence was shattered. 2 armed men forced their way inside. What happened next would later be described by investigators as a mini war zone. Shots rang out in the cramped cabin. Linai watched in horror as her mother and grandmother were shot at point-blank range. Her father, Rolf, was shot in the face, beaten, and left bleeding on the floor. But the attackers weren't finished. They poured gasoline over Rolf's body and set him on fire. Somehow, against all odds, Rolf survived. He played dead as flames burned his snowsuit and smoke filled the room. The attackers then turned their attention to the daughters. At gunpoint, Linai and Tricia were forced outside into the freezing night. Each girl was made to drive a snowmobile, with one of the killers riding behind them. Snow whipped through the darkness. The engines roared, and the girls knew one mistake meant death. But during the ride, they found a moment, a chance. They broke free, escaped into the wilderness, and eventually found help. Back at the cabin, Rolf somehow crawled out alive, burned, bleeding, barely conscious, and alerted authorities. When police arrived, they found frozen pools of blood on the floor, charred rooms, the smell of smoke and death still hanging in the air. The killers were caught after a chase through the snowy mountains. Both were convicted. One received the death penalty, the other life in prison, and the cabin in Oakley, Utah became the site of one of the most brutal winter home invasions in American history. This happened years later. A young woman and her cousin were driving home after a winter trip. Early morning, heavy cold, icy roads. At one point, their car slid slightly on black ice. Nothing serious. They kept driving. A few minutes later, a pickup truck pulled up beside them. The driver waved and shouted that they had dropped something back on the road. When they rolled the window down, the man smiled and held up a pair of women's underwear. "Does this look familiar?" he asked. Panic set in instantly. They locked the doors and sped away. They thought that was the end of it. 2 hours later, they stopped at a highway Starbucks. Inside the store, the woman felt someone brush past her shoulder. She turned around. It was the same man, smiling. He looked straight at her and said, "Look at us, just like old friends." She overheard him telling the cashier, "See that beauty queen? That's my beauty queen." Terrified, she ran back outside. The man followed. He blocked their car, stood in front of it, and once again held up the underwear, waving. They floored it and escaped onto the highway. But he wasn't done. Soon, his truck appeared behind them, tailgating, honking, swerving. At one point, he pulled ahead, stopped, and calmly climbed onto the hood of his truck in the snowy shoulder, staring at them. They refused to stop and kept driving until they finally lost him. Later, police inspected their car. Deep scratches covered all 4 doors. The roof was dented inward, right where someone had stood. And in the snow nearby, only one set of footprints led into the woods. They ended abruptly, as if whoever made them simply disappeared. That snow you imagined at the start. It wasn't safe. The cabin, the road, danger was closer than you thought. After this, you'll never look at winter the same way.